It seems as though just about all fantasy Premier League managers right now are either talking about blank or double game weeks. In this video I'm going to go through what we currently know and how you can start planning for them, and that's all coming up next. So I want to start this video off with just a quick explanation of what we mean by blank and double game weeks. I know that most people watching will probably already know, but just in case you don't, or if you're new to FPL and you just found this video, we'll go for a quick explanation. So blank game weeks are basically when a game gets called off for whatever reason. Now that could be because of weather, so in the past games have been called off for snow and things like that, and just bad weather conditions. But most of the time, this is what happens every season. Games will be called off because of cup fixtures. So as a team progresses through a cup, like the League Cup or FA Cup or even sometimes Europe, their Premier League game will be called off because they won't be able to play that obviously at the same time, and they will get rescheduled. So in game week 26, for example, Man United are playing in the League Cup final, so their game's called off, and obviously their opponent will also miss a game that week. Then that will be rescheduled, and that's where double game weeks come in. So as an example, right now we have game week 23 being played as I record this, and then game week 24 next week. Now that's played over a Tuesday, Wednesday for game week 23, and then a Saturday, Sunday for game week 24. They're split because at the start we already knew that the Premier League knew that those fixtures would take place. But for the ones they don't know, they just put them into another game week. So, if United get called off in game week 26, then that might be put into, say, game week 34. And in that game week 34, they'll play two fixtures, and you'll get points for. You basically get double points for any player that plays both those games. So they're really good. But we're going to jump in now and take a look at who's blanking, who you might bring in, and who's not blanking. Just before we do, just say I'm going to turn the video off now because there's quite a bit of info I've got on the screen. There's just nowhere to put my face. And also, to let you know, I'm recording this on Tuesday evening. So obviously, game week 23 is currently in progress. It's not going very well for me. But we'll see what happens. But obviously, all these stats are based on the 4 games before game week 23. So, if someone scored today, then just try and ignore that if I don't have that included. But other than that, we're just going to get straight into it. So we're going to take a look at game week 26 first. Because it's the League Cup final, we already know that 4 teams are going to blank, so we already have that info. Man United and Southampton are playing in the final, so they'll obviously blank. And then so will their opponents in game week 26, because obviously they can't play their fixture because the other teams are tied up. So that's Man City and Arsenal. So any players you've got from those 4 teams will not play in game week 26 and won't be able to score you points. Now, most of us have probably got Ibrahimovic and Sanchez, so that's going to be an issue because they're worth quite a lot of money. What I would say for now is don't look to bring any players in from those teams because they are going to blank soon. So if you bring someone in for game week 24, say Walcott's back now, for example, he's a really nice price. But if you bring him in for game week 24, he's only going to play that game and 25, and then he won't play for you. So you're going to then maybe be looking at shipping him out again. So probably hold off on bringing these players in. But at the same time, don't be too quick to get rid of them. There's a chance that they might blank again in game week 28, which we're going to come on to in a little bit. But for now, we don't know that for definite. So I wouldn't be too quick to get rid of great players like Ibrahimovic and Sanchez. But what I would say is start planning now when you're making your transfers to not bring in players that are going to blank, essentially. Now, it's worth noting that you can bench 3 outfield players every week. So if you're holding, say, 2 to 3 Man United and Arsenal players, or even like one from City and Southampton, then you can bench them. But just bear in mind they're probably your better players that you're benching, and you're preferably going to want a good bench. So like for me, for example, I have Amat on the bench who's just not playing right now, so he's almost a no-go for me. So if I bench someone like Ibrahimovic and have Amat coming on, that's no good. I'm basically playing with 10 men at the most. So basically start planning. We'll come on to game week 28 now, and we'll run through that and how that affects our teams. But we've got to start looking to plan transfers basically from here on out. So as I said earlier in the video, it's usually the cup run for a team which dictates the blank game week. So we're going to take a look at the FA Cup 5th round fixtures because they're the ones we're interested in, because that will help us figure out who's going to blank in game week 28 or who might blank. So as you can see, there's 8 fixtures in this round with 8 Premier League teams, and they've all missed each other, so they're all in separate games, which is pretty crazy. I saw a tweet by a guy I follow called Boulders. He said there was only a 2% chance of that happening. So depending on which way you look at it, it's going to be a real headache potentially if they all go through to plan for the blank game weeks for us, for FPL managers. But it's going to make for some really good double game weeks. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But essentially, any Premier League team that advances from this fixture, so from their FA Cup 5th round, will blank in game week 28, and so will their opponent. Now, on paper, you'd have to say that all Premier League teams will advance, given the competition that they're facing. But obviously you can't say that with 100% certainty, especially with the amount of rotation we've already seen in the earlier rounds. So given that it's just, it is a later round now, so potentially teams might start playing or fielding stronger sides, but you just don't know of rotation. So I wouldn't say that all 8 are 100% going to go through, but it does look likely given the competition. So when you look at teams that are already blanking in game week 26, they all have a really good chance of getting to the next round. So Arsenal play Sutton United, Man United are playing Blackburn, who are right at the bottom of the Championship right now, and Man City are playing Huddersfield, who are doing well in the Championship, but you'd still expect City to win. So Southampton are also blanking in game week 26. They're actually out of the FA Cup, but their fixture in game week 28 is Man United. So if Man United advance, which we would expect them to, Southampton will also blank. So that's a lot of teams that are blanking twice in 3 weeks. And it's their players you want to be really careful about bringing in. Like I said earlier, if you bring in Walcott, for example, and Arsenal blank twice, you bring him in game week 24, he's playing twice, and he's blanking twice in the next 3. So you're only getting for 3 out of 5 games. And there's always going to be probably another player that's a better option. So yeah, that doesn't mean that we can just forget all about all this until then. We need, like I said, we need to start planning. That's kind of going to be the key to the video, I think. Just keep planning. The good news is we will know, or we should know before game week 26, as long as there's no replays, which teams are going to blank in game week 28. So that's when we can start making our moves. So let's say Arsenal unsurprisingly get knocked out by Sutton United. They're only going to miss 1 game. Maybe we'll keep their players. Obviously, if they go through before game week 26 and they're about to blank, then we'll look to start to get rid. And again, that's why we have to keep planning. So at this point in the video, I've probably said the word blank and double game week a million times. That's probably not going to change. But what we do know is that some teams definitely aren't going to blank. So Bournemouth, West Ham, Everton, West Brom, Hull and Swansea are all definitely going to play in game week 26 and 28. And that's because they've already been knocked out of all cup competitions and they play each other in game week 28. So we should be looking towards their players for any future transfers that we're going to make. Now, it doesn't mean that we should absolutely fill our team with, just players from these teams, because obviously we don't want to put rubbish into our teams, right? But when you're making a future transfer, you should definitely consider who's not going to blank. So we're going to take a look in a minute at the teams that aren't going to blank and the possible players that you could look at. I've not gone into a huge detail on all their stats because there's quite a few players to run through. But not only that, I've looked at their fixtures because obviously we don't want to bring a player in just because they're not blanking if they've got awful fixtures, because chances are we're not going to get any points from them. But yeah, coming up next, I'm going to go through the teams separately and we'll look at who you could bring in and what their fixtures are like. So we're going to take a look at Bournemouth first. I've picked out 2 players, although I'm not 100% certain that I'd like either of these in my team right now, but we'll come on to that in a sec. So Charlie Daniels is probably a little bit pricey now at 5.3 million. He is one of their more attacking defenders, or the most attacking. He's actually the 7th highest scoring defender in the whole of FPL. But at 5.3 million, you're probably going to struggle to justify that. But if we get desperate and we do need some non-blank players, then he could be key in the defence. And then Stanislas is the other option. Now, he was a really popular pick over the last couple of weeks at just 5.3 million. He is going to free up funds getting him into your midfield. And he is on penalties when Callum Wilson isn't playing, but he hasn't done anything for the last 2 matches. So at the time of recording this, he's actually just come off early, around the 70th minute, I think. Now that's happening quite a few times now, so it is a bit of a worry. And with the fixtures coming up, which we're going to look at now, I don't think he's probably worth a pick at the moment. So they've got Everton away, Man City at home, West Brom away, and Man United away between 24 and 27. So that kind of covers the game week 26 blank. That's 3 away fixtures. In the next 4, I don't think I'll be getting a Bournemouth player in for that. Now it does get a bit better during like the game week 28 blank. So from 28 to 31, they've got West Ham at home, Swansea at home, Southampton away, and Liverpool away. So again, not great with those 2 away fixtures, but they're not bad. And I think if you did want some Bournemouth cover, then you could probably get away with it for those fixtures. But I'd be a bit worried about bringing them in straight away. And also with Charlie Daniels, he hasn't played tonight. Now I'm not quite sure why. He's not even on the bench. That would suggest an injury, so we obviously have to keep a lookout on that just to see how bad it is. So with West Ham, I've mainly focused on attackers. Font's obviously just joined the team in defence, so he might make him a bit more defensive. But I'm still not convinced at those kind of prices that I want a West Ham defender. We'll have to see. Byram's currently playing right back. We'll have to see if Nordfeldt gets back in the team. For now, they're ones to watch, but it's midfielders and attackers or forwards that I'm more interested in. So first up, there's Antonio. Now, he was a bit of a favourite early in the season, He did start to tail off a bit with his returns, but recently he's kind of been going under the radar and scoring consistently. He's only 6.9 million. He's got 2 goals and 5 assists in the last 8 fixtures, which is pretty good returns given the price. He's playing much more advanced. Earlier on in the season, he kept going back to right wing back, so he could be an option. And then another midfielder is Snodgrass. So I think he's a really interesting one at 5.7 million. You know, he's not that expensive. He's just moved from Hull. If Noble keeps playing, obviously, I don't think he's going to get penalties off him. He did have them at Hull when Hernandez wasn't on the pitch. But I think he could be on free kicks and corners now that Payet has left for Marseille. So if he gets a regular spot in the side, which it looks like he could do, at 5.7 million could be a real bargain. And he's got Andy Carroll to aim at, who is the last pick I've got for West Ham. So he's currently priced at 6.3 million. He's in some pretty good form. He scored 4 goals in the last 5 matches, so he could be a shrewd pick as a third forward. He is currently injured, or potentially carrying a knock, so we'll have to see if he plays in this game week and then find out what the news is going forward. But he's doing alright at the moment, so he could be an option. Fixtures-wise, they're a bit mixed, but overall, I think I do like them. Southampton are without Van Dijk, currently. And running up to game week 28, they have some pretty good fixtures against West Brom and Watford, with Chelsea obviously being the more difficult one. They've also been looking a bit better recently, West Ham. They've scored 3 goals in each of the last 2 fixtures, so it could be worth bringing in one of their forwards. Wouldn't be expecting a massive haul every week, but they could keep ticking over points for a decent price. And obviously, like all these teams we're looking at, they've got no blanks. Everton are arguably the best team out of all the teams that don't have a blanks to choose players from. And they've probably got too many options to actually mention. You can probably make a justification for just about all their team almost. So at the back, they've got Coleman and Baines. They're the premium options that you could look at. They're both looking great for attacking returns and clean sheets at the moment. And then also in defence, you've got Holgate, who's the value option. He's just 4.1 million. But he could be at risk of losing his place. So right now, Coleman keeps playing a 3-5-2 formation or a 3 at the back formation, which Holgate's playing in. If they go 4 at the back, he probably will lose his place. So you could have a bench fodder there for 4.1 million. Funes Mori might be a better bet. He's 4.6 million. Seems to have nailed down that second centre-back spot. So behind, obviously, Williams seems to be first choice. But Funes Mori could be second. Now, 4.6 million, that's a good way to get into that Everton defence. Like I said, they are keeping clean sheets. I don't think he scored any goals yet this season, but he did well last season. So there could be goals to come as well. And he looks like he'll play whether it's 4 at the back or 3 at the back. So we'll wait and see, but he could be a really good option. You might even consider Robles. So he looks to have got the number 1 goalkeeper shirt at the moment. He's priced at just 4.7 million. If you're like me and you've got someone like Heaton, obviously he's been doing really well. His match has just finished actually while I'm recording this, and he's going to get at least 9 points from that, which is great. But they do have a lot of away games coming up, so Robles' good fixtures could cover that. So another one to consider. And then we move on to midfield. There's Barkley and Morales. So Barkley looks to be nailed on at the moment. He's got 1 goal and 2 assists in his last 4 matches. But Morales is also starting to get a good run in the starting 11. At the moment, the only real concern with him is he rarely makes it past 80 minutes. But like Barkley, he's also got 1 goal and 2 assists in the last 4 matches. And he's priced at just 6.1 million, which is pretty good. I've got him in my team. I'm pretty hopeful. In the last game against Crystal Palace, he was actually the furthest man forward on the pitch for Everton on average. So he's even ahead of Lukaku. So hopefully if he keeps that up, if Koeman keeps playing 3 at the back formation, then Morales is coming more central and it could be a really nice asset for 6.1 million. And then up front we've got the main man himself, so Romelu Lukaku. I think out of all the players that aren't going to blank, he is going to be the number 1 option for every team, I think. He's priced at 9.6 million, so he's a bit cheaper than the likes of Kane, Costa and Ibra. He's one of the top scoring forwards already this season. And whether you're playing a 3-5-2 or 3-4-3 as your FPL formation of choice, I think he's going to be a fantastic option. He's one that I'm looking at. I think just about every FPL manager is going to be looking at him going forward. The next 6 fixtures are one of the reasons why, so they look really good for Everton. 4 excellent home fixtures as well as a trip to Borough. Again, Middlesbrough have been pretty tight at home, but that's still a nice fixture for Everton. Spurs away is probably the tough one there. They've been really good at home, not conceding many. But I think it's worth taking the hit on that 1 fixture when you look at the bigger picture. They've got so many good fixtures around it that it's worth getting them in just for even though they've got that Spurs game. After game week 29, there is a couple of tough games for them. Liverpool away and Man United away. But after that, then they have Leicester and Burnley at home. So Long term, Everton assets look really good, especially I think the main ones are going to be Lukaku, Coleman, and Baines. But even if you get in one of the others, they look really good as well. And you do have to take into account that obviously we are going to have free transfers. It's not like we're going to be locked in with these players. So after the blanks have happened and we know when the double game weeks are or who they're going to be, which teams are playing, then we can start to maybe look to get rid of these Everton players. So definitely ones to consider over these next coming weeks. Similarly to Robles and Everton, West Brom also have a goalkeeper priced at 4.7 million in Ben Foster. And again, he could cover Heaton's away fixtures. He's got some pretty nice home fixtures, so he's an option to look at. In defence, it's really McCauley and Brunt who are the standout options. At this point, I expect most of us have got one of those already. They're priced at 5 million or less. Both have really good goal threat. And we should expect Brunt to go back into the midfield. I put a tweet out actually this week. He's actually averaging 8.66 points per game in the last 6 home fixtures, which is ridiculous. Didn't do anything against Middlesbrough tonight while I've been recording this, but hopefully with the home fixtures coming up, which we'll go into in a sec, there's really a lot of points to come. In midfield, your best options are probably Phillips and Chadley. And Phillips is the one in form. He's got a goal and 3 assists in his last 4 fixtures. He's priced at just 5.9 million. So again, he could be a nice enabler for our team, especially with the home fixtures that he's got in our midfield. And then Chadley, he hit the ground running at West Brom, but he's been poor since. He's had injuries, limited game time. He seems to have won his place back now, and he's only 6 million, so he has come down in price. Got an assist against Sunderland in the last game. Probably should have scored as well. He hit the crossbar. That's how Brunt scored. So yeah, could have had a goal there. I think Phillips is the safer pick, but Chadley could be a nice differential going forward. Just be wary of his limited minutes. He does seem to come off like at 60, 70 minutes nearly every game. Then up front, Rondon's a contender, I suppose, to compete with someone like Carroll for your third striker spot. He's priced at 6.8 million, so it's a bit more expensive than Carroll. He hasn't had many attacking returns recently, just an assist in the last 6 matches. And again, I've been recording this tonight, the match has been on, he hasn't done anything again. So I don't particularly rate Rondon myself. I think he's playing well for West Brom, but as a fancy asset, he hasn't looked that good. I definitely look more towards the likes of Phillips and maybe even Chadley. Then looking at their fixtures, if you haven't already got one of their players, then you probably should going forward. The next 4 fixtures are great with 3 really nice home fixtures against Stoke, Bournemouth and Palace. The problem really comes from the game week 28 blank onwards. The fixtures go downhill pretty fast. They've got 3 away fixtures and Arsenal at home, so that's really not good. So if you're looking at a West Brom player, maybe even to cover the game week 26 blank, then I would look at getting one in now. But I wouldn't necessarily look to overload on their players because from game week 20 onwards it looks tough. And I'd imagine we'll be looking at getting rid of them, not bringing them in. So it's probably fair to say that it's slim pickings at Hull. There's probably 2 players at the most I'd look at, and I'm not even convinced I'd look at both of those. So you got Jakupovic, hopefully I pronounced that right, 3.9 million goalkeeper. Now he played earlier in the season and lost his place to Marshall, but recently seems to have won it back, so it could be a really nice way to free up funds. Obviously, goalkeeper transfers aren't something that we want to make very often. So if you can get one in that's not going to blank and he's going to free up funds, could be a really good option. Probably the best option from Hull, which kind of says it all. So now they've lost Snodgrass to West Ham. I don't think any of the midfield options are very good at Hull. You've got Abel Hernandez up front, who could be a good third pick striker or a third striker. He's 5.9 million, so he's cheaper than both Carroll and Rondon, and is on penalties. But it is worth bearing in mind that he missed 2 penalties in the FA Cup, so whether or not he'll still be on them, we'll have to see. Fixtures are quite mixed in the short term. They've got a couple of home games in the next 4, but one of those is against Liverpool. We'll have to wait and see whether Marco Silva can really make Hull a more defensive unit. It almost feels like they've kind of given up this season by selling Snodgrass, and they're kind of readying themselves for life in the Championship, but we'll have to see. Going into the game week 28 blank, they have a pretty nice run of fixtures with 3 pretty good home fixtures. So they've got Swansea, West Ham and Middlesbrough at home in the next 4 fixtures after the game week 28 blank. So if you look at them from then onwards, perhaps we'll have a better idea of how they're performing. We could go for one of them. But right now, other than Jakupovic, I'm not sure I'd be touching Hull. So Swansea are the last team we're going to look at. And like the other teams, it's mainly attackers that we're going to focus on because I don't think they've really got a very good defensive record or very good defenders to choose from. But we're going to start with Tom Carroll. So he's 4.2 million, recently moved to Swansea. Had a really nice debut actually and got an assist. Kind of played a bit more of an attacking midfield role in their midfield 3. And with a potential move back to 3-4-3 in FPL that some managers, myself included, are considering, he could be the way to fund it as a fifth midfielder that is also going to play and hopefully can get you attacking returns. So he's one to look at. And then another man in the Swansea midfield worth looking at is the main man, Gylfi Sigurdsson. So I got rid of him recently, kind of regretted it, and tonight, like I said, I've been recording this while the matches have been on, and he's got a goal and assist, and it looks like 3 bonus points, so he's looking really good again. He's actually dropped to 7.2 million now, so really could be a good option. He's still got good stats, he's had them all the way through, and now it looks like he's starting to return again. And obviously, as we know, he's got a monopoly over all set pieces for Swansea, so he's going to be taking corners, free kicks and penalties, which is about all you can ask for as a fantasy Premier League manager. And then similar to the other teams again that we've looked at, they've got a third striker potentially in Llorente. He's 6.2 million. He was able to score 2 goals against Liverpool in the last match, but I don't think he did anything tonight. With Clement now at the helm, maybe he'll get the best out of him, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. Fixture-wise, even though they've got Man City up next, and they've not looked tight at the back, and they've got a goalkeeper who doesn't seem like he wants to save shots, it's still not a fixture I think I'd be happy bringing someone from Swansea in for. After that, they've got a pretty nice run of fixtures over the blanks, with Chelsea being the tough one in game week 26. But either side of that, they've got Leicester, Burnley, Hull, Bournemouth and Middlesbrough. So with that kind of fixture oncoming, I think I'm going to have someone like Sigurdsson in my team sooner rather than later. I think a bit like Lukaku earlier on, he's going to be the main man from Swansea and probably one of the top options going into these blanks. So him and Lukaku are going to be the ones to go for. You potentially, if you're moving back to 3-4-3, you might double up on Swansea midfielders and get Tom Carroll in there. 4.2 million, he's probably the cheapest playing midfielder you can get. And he looks like he could return some points. Probably not each week, but maybe every now and again he could be a decent option when you need him off the bench. Llorente, he's someone that's shown promise before and then not delivered consistently. So with the new managers and good fixtures, this could change, like I said earlier, but he's not one I'm particularly looking at. Sigurdsson's your main man here. Decent fixtures, one to get in. So what do you do next? Well, first of all, don't panic. Remember that everybody is in the same boat. We're all going to have to plan through this. If you're watching this video and if you're already planning, then you're already one step ahead of your competition who may not even know there's blanks and doubles coming up. Next up, you've got to start thinking and planning. I said that earlier in the video, I said it quite a lot. Planning is the key here. Who do you have in right now that's going to blank for sure in game week 26 or who might blank in game week 28? Who could you bring in for them instead? Remember, you do have some transfers before these blank game weeks, but you've only got 3 before game week 26 and 5 before game week 28. That's not too many to start changing around a whole lot of players. Now, obviously, that's free transfers. You could take hits. And I would say if it's a hit for someone like Lukaku and Sigurdsson, who not only is a good player through the blanks, but is also just a good player in general, it could be worth a hit if it's a long-term move. Additionally, you've got to keep an eye on the value of a player. So if you've got a lot of value tied up in them, that means that you've got them at a cheap price and they've gone up quite a bit. Then you may want to hold them through the blanks. So take Sanchez as an example. I got him for 10.5 million, and now he's gone up to 10.9 million. So I don't have that much value tied up in him. So if he's going to blank, I'll happily get rid, knowing that it'll drop in price, and then I'll get him back. If you're one of the players that got him in at I think it's 10 million, and now he's gone up nearly a million, you've got a lot more value tied up. So you may want to consider keeping him. If he's going to blank twice, I still think it's worth getting rid. But in general, keep an eye on the value of the players that you're getting rid. And lastly, consider a wild card. We want to save these for the double game weeks, preferably. We want to load up on players for those doubles to get the most value out of it. But if it's really going to be a mess in game week 28 because so many players are missing out, what you might want to do is bring in a bunch of players that aren't going to blank so that in game week 28 you have a full starting 11, which a lot of players won't do. They might get caught out if there's a lot of teams not playing that weekend. And then you could wildcard in game week 29 to start getting those players back that you would have wanted but you couldn't have in your team. So consider that. And sorry, I know I already said lastly, but just remember to have fun. Planning for blank game weeks can be an absolute headache, especially if you start getting injuries around the same time. But just remember that all of these blank game weeks are going to mean that there's an awesome double game week in the future. Double game weeks, I think, are some of the best parts of FPL. So try and have fun, even though I know it's a real pain to start planning for all of this. So that's it for today's video. Thanks as always for watching. Hopefully you didn't miss my face too much. I'll probably try and get it back in for future videos, or maybe it's a good thing that you didn't see it for most of the video. Let me know below. I know this one was a bit of a long one, but I wanted to make sure that I had all the info in there. If you did make it to the end, again, make sure to leave a comment below and put that you got through to the end. Then I know how many of you actually got that far. As always, if you liked the video and enjoyed the content, then make sure to give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe for more videos, you'll see when they're coming out. And it'll also let you know when I'm going live. So the next live stream that I've been doing will be on Friday, I think, at 9 or 9:30. But just to be sure, follow me on Twitter. My handle's Andy85WSM. That'll let you know when I'm definitely going live. I'll announce that in advance. But until next time, guys, keep chatting FPL, and I'll catch you soon.